you, Dr.
Class, at least
Kingsley.
you have spent almost. Okay. I've been battling with family problem, which is so serious. But let me. I have to put that one by the side. So it was. You will realize about 2 months. I've been not really stable. My daughter was seriously ill, and eventually she died about 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
So that explains why all along it's either I'll be on emotion and so on. So let's quickly use maybe about 40 or 45 minutes to review what we have done so that we can prepare for the exams. That one has gone. Let's leave that one.
We
So,
commensurate with you, sir.
Thank you all. So we will first of all look at our discussion on the focus is financial objectives, financial management concept. We also want to look at okay. You pardon me because I'm not well. I'm not okay for the past since I'm yet to recover fully. So I just have to force myself. Yes. So we look at thank you. Financial objectives, the financial management to focus more on the investment, the financing, and then the concept of agency theory and the pecking order theory. And I think maybe other allied can go into it. So I gave you some questions, maybe practice questions. I provided solution to maybe 2 or 3. And maybe you can quickly, let me check my own phone. You can quickly check some of those questions. Before then, let's quickly use the first 10 minutes to summarize the entire discussion. You look at financial objectives that a manager or a finance manager or a business, generally, they must have objective of setting it up. And the objectives here can be classified into financial objectives and non-financial objectives. And the financial means the aspect of objective that can be measured in monetary terms. We also look at a long-term and short-term objectives. And we also compare financial objectives and strategic objectives. You check your notes, you see those things there. In the financial objectives, we said a business will measure its returns. And mostly the shareholders want to see satisfactory returns. And then we said the general concept is that is encompassing, talks about the wealth maximization. But aside that, we have some other objectives which relate to profit maximization, sales maximization, cost minimization. You can go on like that. But there used to be a problem. The business does not operate to satisfy the shareholders alone. We have stakeholders. There's other stakeholders that also want their own interests to be considered. And by the time we are now looking at those people, we may be thinking of non-financial objectives. And when we use the word non-financial objectives, means the interests of others, such as the welfare of workers, the welfare of the managers or management, the welfare of the society, which translates to the idea of, excuse me, the idea of CSR, the businesses to do. And they also need to provide a service, a quality service or product that the public or consumer will accept and that will make them to patronize the business. So you have a power failure here. Then that's where you now see the interest of customers, the interest of suppliers, the interest of the managers, the interest of the employers or the employees, and that of the government. The government wants a business to be responsible. So when you bring all this on board, you'll be talking about a non-financial objectives. In terms of strategic objectives, when a business operates in such a way that has a quality product or render a quality service that satisfy the interests of customers. When a business is seen or having a wide range of products or render a wide range of services, then it's a symptom of strategic objectives. Or a business that can operate at international level, a business that's seen as a leader in the industry. You can name these are the, so you should expect, one will expect you to have this at the with you so that you can discuss some of these objectives. There's nothing anybody wants to set up a business other than to achieve an objective. And that's why our finance theory will discuss. Of course, one will say that our own focus is finance or financial objectives. So a measurement of financial objectives may be seen that maybe a business having high return on capital employed, huge profit, high revenue, anything that are monetary in nature, increase in price shares, there are high dividend payment. But don't forget that a business may need to sacrifice financial objectives for strategic objectives. And if possible, in the long run, it may need to also satisfy financial objectives for non-financial objectives. So we stop there. We may also need to look at what will be the objectives of a corporate, a government parastatals, a government business such as a business set up by a company or a government rather. How do you compare the business or objectives of a business or corporate body versus a governmental agency? One would say that in most government parastatals or government corporations, they don't have objectives, but they do. They do, but it's not the aim. Unlike in the case of public limited companies, that the measurement of performance of their own is profits or returns, satisfactory returns to the shareholders. But in the case of corporations, governmental corporations or parastatals, government essence of setting it up is probably, it depends on objectives and maybe what the government or the government has set as own program for the citizen. Other than that, you still agree that even governments, corporations or parastatals, they still need profits, huge revenue, satisfactory revenue to meet up to their operational expenses. And they also might need to make profit to also contribute towards the funding of government budget. So there's a mind of some people that government, business or parastatals, corporations, they are not set up to make profits. Yes, that won't be the main objective, but it's a secondary objective to them. So I'm trying to compare the two in such a way that we all agree that at this level, you cannot go out and tell somebody that the government is not set up, will not set up a corporation like water corporation, like of course they have privatized power sector. But in those days that we were running NEPA, they were expected to generate satisfactory revenue to meet up first their own operational expenses. But the main objective is to render to services, to provide electricity, to make electricity available. But you and I will agree that government did not achieve much on that because problem of power failure rampant till date in Nigeria. So we also look at the aspect of focus of financial function or finance management. That's three major areas that were discussed: the aspect of investment, which we later tag as project, the aspect of financing, and the aspect of dividend. We did not do much on dividend, believing that the other causes will take care of that. But we discuss investment, and we look at investment, and we also tag it as project. that a business embarking on a project, that is, it means investment and project are used interchangeably, that the major focus is to assess profitability. That is the case of private business. Profitability is the key in the case of a private business. A public, maybe governmental area, they may not focus on profitability. They will focus on viability. Whereas the appraiser that we normally need to do, which you as a doctorate degree holder now, you should have at the back of your mind that investment appraiser, investment decision is not about profitability. There are three areas you have to focus. The area of profitability, appraiser, fine, feasibility, and viability. So when you check most textbooks, they only lay emphasis on profitability on when it talks about investment decision. I am telling you, at the management level, at level you are likely to provide the taking decision on whether a business or investment should be embarked upon. One cannot be thinking of only profitability. What I mean by that is, you check your notes, I mentioned it then, that it is possible that business or investments may be promising in terms of profit, but it may not be feasible, it may not be attainable, it may not be achievable. So what do we mean by attainable or feasible? It means that a lot of factors needs to be considered, that some of those factors, any one of them can prevent you, can make the project to be, or investment to be unattainable. For instance, let me paint the scenario. I have about 3,000 petrol stations in Nigeria across, and I can tell you, if I make up my mind to vie for position of presidency in Nigeria, I would defeat the three gladiators now. I mean, Tinubu, Buhari, Atiku, and Obi, because I'm popular. Or else I will stop all my filling station not to work, and then you people will be begging me. So now, why I'm doing so, one of Dr. Tokwe now discussed a good investment with me. That, sir, we've been buying our fuel, petrol at a liter of at 160 naira per liter, and we are selling at 170. That if you go into refinery, we'll refine our oil, and we'll refine our petrol, we'll sell at 120, at 100 naira per liter. And I'll be making an extra profit of 50 naira or 60 naira. Oh, that would be interesting. That means if I use 100 naira to produce, I'll make a return of 60%. That's huge. So I look at the cost of producing, the revenue realized, profitability, NPV will be positive. If you guys also check the other measures you use, such as a profitability index, it will be more than, greater than 1. And by the time you check IRR2, it will be satisfactory. Let's assume I have the technical know-how, which is a factor that can affect feasibility. Did I have the funds to set up refinery? Can I have the technology? If I have all this, did I have the government license? Would I have the manpower? Please, those are some of the things we expected to discuss under investment, our decision. So what are those qualitative factors? And those qualitative factors are the issues that can lead to how visible, how practicable the investments be in terms of execution. And again, we also talked about the aspect of viability. And I said viability is also about cost benefit, but especially in the public sector. Most government projects, they appraise it majorly on in terms of viability. how viable, if you incur this cost, what benefits will it bring? The benefit here is not measured only in terms of revenue. It's going to be in terms of so many factors: social, economic, political factors, especially social and economic factor. If we have, I don't know, some of us that maybe have been to Ijoko, to Odubega, there's one road there from Songo that Ogun State, they demolished houses, but they did not completed the construction. Assuming they were able to do so, I can tell you the area will develop. Businesses will spring up. Now the place is open. Socially, social life will come up. Again, economic will boom because more people will troop there, will be ready to live there. There's so many businesses will spring up to provide needs of people or the influx of people in that area. And you will agree with me that most area you see that you have good roads. That's where you begin to see a shopping complex, shopping mall, clubs, hotels, and so on. Don't forget that all these businesses and so on that will set up there, they will pay taxes. If it's federal government road or state road, they will pay corporate tax. Whether federal road or state road, the workers they will employ will pay personal income tax. So you see that it's not just for government providing a benefit comes from government. Government will cure costs. What benefit? What will that benefit the government? You know, government will not assess their own performance only on the monetary benefit that comes with them. They also want to see how they make life bearable and enjoyable to those who have voted them into power. So when you improve on the social life of people, it's part of measurement of performance of government. And it's also a benefit to them because it can add to the value of their electoral sources. So I hope I've communicated, I explained the aspect of investment decision. The computation, the use of, I think there's a course already you have done on that with Professor Nofalujo and Professor Kendi. Investment as a course, I'm sure of that. So that's where they will discuss, they're expected to discuss the methods, both sophisticated method and so on, the use of, I'm not sure whether the use of sensitivity analysis, the use of certain covalent, the use of the application of risk adjusted discount rates to appraise the project, the use of a probability approach, the idea of using decision tree, idea of using simulation. One that would be that should have been their whole focus. But our whole focus is theory, and that's the theory, that's the discussion that you have to do there. We have some theories that can back it up. I think I'll give you some questions as an assignment. Well, I've not seen anybody that have submitted any assignment to me, but we may likely. So I am using that as a review. Then we also move to financing. And our finance, we said, a business, once the project is approved, once the project seems to be promising, the next thing is to look for means of financing it. We listed various sources of financing, and we later categorized them or classified into 3 areas: the long term, the short term, and the medium term. And we listed the components. I think you remember there, for long term, what we have, the short term, what we have. And I said the major discussion there will be, which if peradventure that comes in the exam, is about the issue of cost and the risk. That the major issue that a finance manager wants to look at, what will be the cost if I use this option instead of this? If I'm using this source as against that source, what will be my cost? Of course, I have to look for any source that will give me the minimum cost of capital. But at the same time, I cannot compromise the risk. So 2 things I've mentioned that seems to be determinants of the choice of finance is the cost of capital and the risk. And we portray what we mean by the risk. We said a source that may disappoint or might create problem along the line, where instead of applying a long or utilizing a long-term fund, we make use of short-term, and the short-term will not be available after some months, some period, and then that may lead to obstruction. Accountant use that word, the disruption that will come where production or operation will be halted. What that means is that you may not have goods being produced. Then the concept of cost out, stock out cost will need to be computed. When you have workers, they will not have material because you don't have funds to buy raw materials. You don't have funds to meet up to your short-term obligations for your supplier to supply materials and to meet up other short-term obligations. When that happens, some workers will be on ground doing nothing and they'll be paid. And you can see the risk, and some of your customers who may be lost. They may shift to another to your competitors. Excuse me. To patronize, or sorry, to seek for another source of supply. So these are some of the things that one needs to avoid in looking for appropriate source of finance. We also talks about the interest of stakeholders, and that led us to the idea of agency theory. And agency theory there, we also mention some other concepts. We discuss vividly what we mean by agency theory. That's the conflict that will arise where we have the shareholders or do not being the manager. And the meaning of that is the shareholders will have relinquished or part of the authority to the managers, and the manager will operate on their behalf. And we also say that the managers too, they will also, please let me show this light. She drop not. Hello? Hello? Hello?
We are here, sir. We are here, sir.
Okay.
I hear you, sir. I hear you, sir.
So we discuss the theory, and thank you. We also look at it this way that why would the manager's interest conflict with the shareholders? Because the managers too, they want good working condition, they want a better pay, and so on. And once that happens, it will be at the expense of the shareholders, because the more you are taking to your side, then you are reducing their own fortune. The shareholders, if possible, they don't even want you to be paid, and they want everything to go to their pocket. I think it's similar to what we're experiencing in Nigeria, especially those of us that work with the government, that find ourselves in government work. See how ASU have been on strike for 6 months. Even if it's 500 billion or 400 billion or 300 billion, 200 billion, 100 billion, government can afford. But the more they use, you see them providing to the ASU or lecturers, then is reducing what they are likely to pocket. If ASU is asking government to put up a structure of 1 trillion, especially even state government, they will not mind. They will say, no problem. We should budget 1 trillion to provide infrastructure, to put classrooms. Okay, we are sure you will do that. Very good. That's what we like. They will budget 1 trillion, they will spend 100 billion and pocket 100 billion. Please, some of you that may be interested in politics, I don't know anything about, but I know what we are facing, either in LASU or elsewhere. They are all the same. So, but when it's about the welfareism of the workers, the owner of the business, they will not want to pay more. They will be looking for means of how the workers will get less. Unfortunately, in the case of agency theory, it is the workers that have the employees, the managers, rather, don't let us use the employees, the managers that will have them in control of the business. They are the one that decide what to sell, how to get the goods sold, and revenue that comes. The shareholders also have the information, except the one provided to them by the managers. That's where their own is a bit different from those of us in the public sector services. So we are consuming, we are not generating super profits. And that is why the government will continue to be at the liberty of government in Nigeria, especially in the educational sector. So we also talk about some other concepts of, I've omitted the aspect of the project, the focus on the project, the aspect of project monitoring, the project control, which I said you have to read on that. What do you mean by that? Which area of control to look at? If a project is embarked upon, you cannot say, yes, you have seen profitability. Once it's approved, then the next is project control. You control the spending, you control the expected benefits, because if you have planned, if you don't monitor, then there'll be a problem. And these are some of the things we have done so far. So that's where our summary will end. I will now want us to look at, let me check my questions, the one I gave you. Yes, I gave you some questions, about 7. I think, let me use my glasses. I can't see. Please, excuse me. I want to use, I can't see the other glasses. Let me manage this one like that. I think I left in the library. Let me use this one like that. This one is just for me to see the, okay. I will need to on torchlight for this one. So I hope, yeah, I'm communicating. Hello.
Very well, sir.
Hello? Yes, you are, sir.
Yes, sir. We are with you, sir.
Hello.
Yes, you are, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you. So
yes,
I'm
sir.
through with, yes, I'm looking for those questions. Let me just get those questions. I printed them. Okay. I think the first question is on the quotation. How will a business, why will business be interested in getting or in seeking quotation in the stock exchange? I don't know whether you have a copy of the question there. I think I have on the phone, yes. There's no need of, let me check the one I gave you here. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, the question says a private company is desirous of obtaining a quotation on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. You are required to set out 1 or 8, the reason for seeking quotation. What should be the consideration? What will they need to consider? And what method of marketing the security? How will they market it? Majorly, why would I want my company to be quoted to appear in the Nigerian Stock Exchange? The first thing that should come to your mind is that, in fact, the moment you have you can easily get cash. You easily get funds from the public. A business that is quoted and the price of the shares of that company will be provided any stock exchange, means interested public, one, awareness will be there, and then you are a potential, you have a potential source of raising fund. Unlike a business not quoted, how will the public know? It's only people that has relationship with them. So one of the reasons would be that it provides a immediate basis of valuation. Yes, you can easily value, and that and you can easily get cash in terms of either one of the shareholders want to dispose. And then maybe for expansion, you can also easily raise additional funds in the market. You might also need to know that I may want to merge my business with Dangote. Dangote is a small company to my own business. I believe most of you know that. Do you are aware of that?
Yes, we are, sir.
I better take notes. Go and find out from some of my last staff. They will tell you that I've been the one funding Dangote in the last 20 years. So Dangote PSC or group of company may want to merge my own. So for basis of determination of what company A will have and what company B will have when we're having the new company after the merger. So it's another thing that will be there. And then another reason why quotation valuation is needed. Valuation will be needed because once we are quoted, the price available is valuation, is ready-made valuation for them. So once the valuation is there, it is very easy for the shareholders to be able to determine the value of his own business, and there will be ready-made market for them. It means that unlike your business may be bigger than my own. That is, you can have a bank, I have a bank. Your bank is not quoted, my own is quoted. You may have you better finance your bank with more capital than my own. But I can tell you, in terms of raising funds or getting funds, moving my one business or selling part of my business when I need the cash, I will easily get, and you may not. And these are some of the reasons why. So the second aspect of the question is what will be the consideration? It's like asking what will be the steps? What will be the requirements for a business that wants to be quoted? What steps that needs to be, or that the business needs to follow? The first follow is you have to meet up with the requirement of Nigerian Stock Exchange. I'll do like that. The Nigerian Stock Exchange requested that a business must have traded for a particular period, depending on which of the tiers you want to enter. Is it first tier or second tier? You must find out how many years of operation you have gotten to meet up to the requirements of such business. That is, you can't just set float a business today and you want to be quoted. You must have operated successfully for a particular number of years, depending on which of the tiers. And not only that, you have to prepare your statement of accounts, which is financial account statement. And the first thing there is that the financial must be prepared in line with the relevant standards, the rules. So your financial must be properly prepared, and then evidence that you have filed your returns to the annual returns to the Corporate Affairs Commission regularly should have to be provided. Another requirement would be that to attract the public who wants to go into, or maybe public here can be said potential investors, you must have traded evidence that you have traded your past activities, you have traded, and you have a reasonable past profit that can attract and interest potential investors that you are looking at. And then you must also consider your board. That is, the board of this organization must also provide information that's confirmed that there is support of moving from a limited company to a private company. And then you must also look at the interests of the shareholders that you have now, whether they are in support or not. And then you must state the types of capital you want to raise in the capital markets that were around there. So that's some of the consideration that you needed to have, which we have as a. So the last question is asking that what methods of marketing security, that is, what are the methods will you use to be able to market or to get your shares or to get fund in the stock exchange that you have in mind of getting quoted. So there's so many methods. I'm not sure whether if I've not, maybe I can print out or copy this night and forward to you through mails. That there are so many means through a business can raise funds in the capital market, such as you can use public offer, which through the prospectus, where you see, oh, you don't have to break it. You South Africa, don't bring them more, maybe you go invest. So this is what we call direct issues in such a way that you are inviting the public to come and be shareholders, and then an advert will be placed stating the minimum number of shares that you have to put and the class and the price of that offer. Then when that happens, you are talking about public offer. The second one is what people call an offer for sale. You approach an issue house. I think you know what I mean by issue house. So that when the issue house place your shares, is most of the times they will do that on your behalf. It's different from the public offer that everybody that can meet up can just buy whatever number. But this, in the case of this one, you are not going straight to get the entire from the public. But usually you look at the existing shares that will be placed for offer to sell. And then there's another one we call placing. The stock exchange here allows that you may not go to the public actually, but you identify some group of people who can buy a specific number of shares, and that's private placement. And we can go on and on. You have what we call an introduction, and you can also have an offer we call as by tender. I think I've seen from what I don't have here. The question number 2 we asked the question, for what reason should a quoted company continue to be concerned with the market? I think I provided a note for that one, I'm sure. Then number 2 is given there. 3, there was no solution to 3. Please let me confirm. Let me confirm from what I gave you. Let me check from the solution. The numbers that I provided solution to. Yes, okay. Question number 2. Question number 2 is with you. Question number 4 is with you. And question number 7 is with you. Okay, sorry. Okay, 7. So we have 2, 4, 7 already with you, so you can read that. So let's now just have it. Okay. I'm going back. Okay. So I've discussed question number 1. Question number 3, I mentioned it briefly, is interwoven. The only difference is that the issue of what is sensitivity. I think sensitivity is about appraisal you have done, and that's part of what Professor Kende and Professor John have taught. Sensitivity analysis is how sensitive a profit or return, but you may disregard all this area. You disregard that number 3, but I can just explain that is talking about how sensitive a returns, your MPV, to changes on the variables. Those variables you have used in computing both your revenue or cash inflows and cash outflows. So then we move to number 4, is already there with you. Number 5, I think you can disregard number 5. It's still part of the process I've mentioned there. So number 6, some companies make a business of borrowing short and investing long. There are certainty, some dangers in the practice of this nature on general scale. What are the dangers of borrowing short and investing long? There we are expected to discuss various sorts of, should we call it strategy of financing, which I mentioned in terms of we can call conservative approach. So some people call it strategy, some call it approach. So what approach, what strategy do you use? So if it's conservative, what do you mean by that? If it's aggressive, what do you mean by that? If it's matching, what do you mean by that? So, but here, they are saying borrowing short and investing long. It means that you are using short-term funds to invest on long-term assets, meaning that you go and take a one-year loan to buy a land that will not pay back within a short period of time. And that is an example of aggressive approach. So you have to discuss what dangers that one possesses, and that may put a business to financial risk. And you may talk about financial risk here, the risk of not be able to meet up to your debt or the financial leverage. Is the financial risk talks about debt issue, problem of not be able to pay your debt as I went due. And when you are having financial risk, you may be having, you'll be highly levered or geared. That means you are using more debt to finance your investment. I think that's on number 6. The B, in what circumstances might this idea of borrowing short and investing in the long term? Yes, there are some instances that you don't have maybe your funds, you have the funds, but you don't have cash or instantly to finance on the your existing business, of which within a short period of time you can still get a good funds, or your funds are tied down somewhere back to be able to pay back at the right time. So instances like that would be that when the rates of are generally high, particularly when you have the rate of long-term funds is high, you can go for short-term to beat that rate. You can also have the gap period. You know, the gap period whereby you might need to borrow short-term and return, and then another time when you need, you borrow again and return. But when that happens, don't forget the danger. The danger, like I mentioned, that the possibility that your investor, but most people that does that, they always sign, have an agreement that you should take note. We usually call it line credit. They want to have a credit line with the bank. They are their financier in such a way that whenever they needed the short-term loan to be available. So when that possibility is there for them, they may still use short-term funds and to use it to finance long-term projects. And that you may also look at possibility of getting your funds when you have a quiet knowledge of future funds that will come, maybe either from the past or the previous investment that you have somewhere, like dividend, huge dividend, or project you have done either to a state government or a government that you'll be paid so time or so on. So that's what we've done so far that I know. I think the last one is number 7. The answer is already provided. Okay, I think I have number 8. Number 8 is still on the similar thing. I outlined the advantages and disadvantages of currently unquoted company obtaining a listing. So it's still about the essence or benefits of being quoted and not being quoted. That is the problem of expansion may not be easy when you are not quoted, because you're not able to get funds easily. The problem of marketing or selling your shares, the shares may not be transferable. It's still part of it. There will be restriction when you are not quoted. And these are some of the things you may expect. And source of supply may be limited when you are not quoted. Number 9, they said describe and explain the pattern of flows of funds that occurs between the major sector of the economy and identify the sector that are normally surplus and those. You can leave that one. So I think we can stop. I just give you a lot of questions to give you in mind. So I think that's what we have there. Let me, we've spent up to close to 1 hour. So let me allow you to ask question.
So which ones exactly?
One question I have given you. Got it?
Can I go on, sir?
Let me put this on so I can be hearing. Oh, you are not hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Okay. I'm
Okay,
trying to
sir.
look at more other questions. Okay. I think another question may be that as a newly employed finance manager, how will you structure the finance function of your business, of the firm or the organization you find yourself? So one, I will expect you to know that as finance director, you should know that you oversee all the finance activities. Finance activities, especially in large scale business, medium or large scale business, can be grouped into three major areas. The one is the treasury, the accounts proper, and the internal audit. So the internal audit, which is the function of internal auditor, you know that one is not a big deep issue. But the other one is the account proper, which is to be headed by chief accountant. You know, we're talking about structure. Structure is who does what, who is in charge of what, and that's the structure. So the all reports to finance director. The chief accountant will be the one in charge of financial accountant, and then manual accountant will also be reporting to the chief accountant. So, and the chief accountant too will now be reporting to finance director. So the third function or structure you have is the treasurer. But let me go back to the role of the chief accountant, the role of chief accountant is to oversee the functions of financial accountant, to also have management accountant reporting to him. So financial accountant will be the one basically be in charge of bookkeeping. They have, you remember your accounting, the trial balance, your profit analysis, financial statement, ratio analysis is the work of the chief accountant. That's to supervise financial accountant. Management accountant too will also be the one to provide the budget planning, to provide stock control, and all these a chief accountant must have. Now, coming back, why I have to raise this is that the moment some people listen to say finance manager, finance director, they believe that it's somebody that studied BSc banking. We have argued that some of my colleagues, they've understood clearly at the initial stage of our, when we are starting faculty of science in those days. The argument has always been that when they say finance, is only banking and finance department. And we said that's not true. I have always been the one to argue with them, and I think many of them now agree what it means. Of course, when we are teaching a finance, we can as a course, you can still place it, allows that to domicile in banking and finance. But when you're talking about finance in general terms, is not restricted to only finance or banking and finance department. Insurance is also part of finance. And that's why you see them also participating in teaching you. So the idea of investment analysis, the idea of cost analysis, meaning that a cost accountant may still be reporting to management accountant. So investment appraiser, budget planning, stock control will be what will be given to management accountant, and he or she will also be reporting to chief accountant. The treasurer, that one is the one in charge of keeping the money, banking, looking for way of raising funds, either at international level, at the local level, making forecasting, and then playing the role of cash management, insurance, the pension, the risk management, and that will be the function of the treasurer. So you should expect a question that may ask on a structure of a large-scale business, structure of finance function in a large-scale business. And one will want you to list out what do you think should be. Like we said, the three major areas: internal audit, the chief accountant function, and the treasurer function. And that is where we'll end our discussion. Another question that I will look for again. So I think Basically, we have answered all these. I've summarized all those questions that I would have expected you to note. Okay, I think I've summarized all the questions. So I want you to bring your own out. So don't forget, I asked you to also look for some theories for me. I think that will be probably the last note. And then when you check the last notes, let me check my own. The last notes that we discussed, that I think I was coming from Beggar. We were coming from our traveling. Sorry, I'm checking. You may read. You can read something on the capital market efficiency too. The three forms of capital market efficiency: the weak form, the semi-strong, and the you may have a bonus, a little question there. I think I'm interested in where is the last note? I'll see it. The last note is okay. Okay. So under that, where we have the agency cost and the pecking order theory, that's where you have those questions. I think it should be. Yes, I think. Yes. I'm not sure. There was a place where I gave you a question that asked for theories, such as finance theory, investment theories. So you may have one or two questions to say there. So I don't know. I think for now, we are good to go. That's my own mind. My own mind. You should be able to have at least is. Let me advise you. There's no big deal. You are having just three questions from the two of us. Hello.
We can hear you,
Hello?
sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
We
I'm
can
not
hear
sure
you,
whether
sir. We can
Professor
hear you,
Jegede has
sir.
mentioned that to you. We are class, the exam, in our case, it will be two sections. Professor Jegede will be, I will be section A, you will be section B. So, and the instruction will be, you have to answer at least two from each. No, you have to answer two questions from each of the two sessions, meaning that two from my own session, two from his own session, altogether 4 questions. So there'll be 3 questions coming from each of the two sessions. So, and some of these things, especially what I have mentioned, should be the focus. I think with that, I can say you are good to go. So we have summarized a pecking order 2 theory that says that what to be. I think if you check your notes, in that one, I started with what leads to the idea of pecking order by explaining that managers generally, they have more information because they are the one operating. They have information about what the fortune of the business will be. And you see them putting the determination of which source will they use. Of course, pecking order came to say that you have majorly 3 areas. That's either you use a retained earnings, or you use debt, or you seek for a fresh shares. Either the existing shareholders will bring more, or if it's a quoted company and the existing shareholders allows what we call dilution of ownership. If they are not interested much in control, then a fresh offer can be considered. So the idea of a pecking order is to say that which order, stating the order of resources through which funds will be raised and which one will be preferred. And like I said, the pecking order is a build-up to say that managers generally, if they believe that raising using the existing funds will create problem, they may not generate satisfactory return to what the shareholders wanted, and that it will be better for them to go for loan or debt then you see them dropping the idea of plowing back profits, that's rating earnings, to go for debt. And if debt, we also give them a condition that will be difficult in terms of the project in question may not be able to meet up to the conditions provided by the debt provider. The debt provider, the debentures, the long term, and so on. So the last result may be to look for a fresh offer. Don't forget that a fresh offer means equity, and which is the last result. If there is a project that goes for 10 years, 5 years, 10 years returns, that is before profits, a good return will start coming, trickling into the business. It may take 5, or if they take that, it will take longer period, years. Then managers, you see them probably they prefer a fresh equity. They may not want to go to a debt if the debt holders are not ready to provide a very long-term loan. So pecking order is stating the order of which our funds will be available and which one should be preferred. And that's where we end our discussion on our preparedness for the exam. I want to stop here and see if you still have any issues to be raised so that we can try together. Hello?
Yeah, we're here, sir.
Hello?
We are here, sir.
Okay. So
Hello, Prof.
let me look at who are the members here.
We are all here, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
We're all here, sir.
It's a full house.
Doctor, the full house, just the 4 of us.
Okay.
Dr. Adewale.
Dr. Ladapo, I can see now. I always mess up. I always call, but they, okay, it's Dr. Ladapo. Okay. Then
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Kingsley Ayuze.
Kingsley
Okay.
Ayuze.
Yeah, Ayuze. Okay. Sorry, Ayuze,
And
not
Dr.
Ayuze.
Adewale Kende.
And Adewale. So once again, I also appreciate the class for the understanding. And I believe there should not be any problem, more so that we have idea of what we have done, and we have had a review or summary, let's say revision of our previous weeks or months discussions. So this is this is 20 to 10 from my own side here. I think it's not that bad. We spend more than 1 hour. It's okay. So in the absence of any question, I want you to please do the assignment I gave you in the area of theories. How will I get the assignment?
I can't recall that theory.
I will forward it. I will forward it.
All right,
I will send it to you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yes, I will send it to you.
Okay, sir. We can do
It should be taken seriously. I will send it to you again tomorrow, but I don't know how. And I want. Can it be immediately after the exam?
we can.
I will have loved you take note of that again, in case, I don't know. So I will forward it to you tomorrow morning. I will forward to, I think I always receive message from Mr. Bodi. Dr. Bodi is the one that sent, is it Dr. Bodi or Tokwe?
Dr. Tokwe, sir.
I think it's Dr. Tokwe. Dr. Tokwe.
Tokwe, sir.
I used to say, yes. Anyone, I will just forward it to you tomorrow morning. So
all right, sir.
let me
All right.
Let me stop here today and then say good night to everybody. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much,
sir.
Professor. We do appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.